Alright, so we're going to stick this engine in here today. It's on the stand, it's off the lift, the bike's ready. Let's do it. Okay, so the bike's all prepared. We've got protection cloths around it everywhere, ready to go. I've got this special bracket here that will be able to support the engine. Without it, I don't think it would be possible without 2 or 3 men to be able to lift it. I've got my old friend here, Davy Lamb from the forum, giving me a hand this morning, and we're going to get this in. I'll show you how that works in a wee second. Okay, so we've got a 2-ton trolley jack. You need to take this big nut out here and get the bracket on, and I'll show you that in just 1 second. So that big plate there comes off altogether along with that nut, and then this bracket goes on to there like that, and then that goes in there like that. And I have some protection on here so that the engine doesn't get scraped in the process. Okay, so there you are. We're just about to connect the jack and the bracket up and get this engine off the stand, get it into the bike, and that'll be one step forward towards progress. Alright, so we're just about to take the stand off. The engine bracket is taking the full weight now at the moment. And take that engine off, or the engine stand off. There's it there. You can see that bracket there, just directly underneath it there. I'll get around this side. Let's get the stand off and get this thing in. So there you go, empty stand, no engine on it. Ready for the next build. Okay, guys. Okay, so we're about to go. I'll just show you this one more time here. In underneath it, there's the bracket there. Trolley jack is taking the full weight now, and we'll just maneuver it into place. See it at this side. Alright. Right, well, we're happy to say that the engine's in without a hitch. Went in perfectly well, no scrapes, thanks to my mate here who gave me a massive hand with that. Just this frame rail here to go on, and torque all the bolts up, and that's that. Back reunited again with the bike. Okay, so just this wee frame rail to go on, and then that's everything buttoned up and back into position again. Alright guys, so that's her in, and the rest of the frame put together again, that removable frame rail back on. Everything's on and lined up perfectly. No scratches, no marks, no issues or anything. And 2 things really helped, and that was my friend Davy Lamb of the ZRX OA forum, who came over to lend me an immense hand in doing it. And this bracket here, which I got from America, and again through the OA forum. I think there's only maybe about 3 or 4 of these at the most in existence. It really was invaluable to put that engine in, because that engine is such a heavy brute of a thing to get in. But we needed it, and in it went. There's my 2005 sitting there watching the whole proceedings. And but anyway, that's it in. As you can see, back in its proper place. I have to go over and torque all the engine mounting bolts, re-torque just everything that was slackened off, you know, even including the swing arm pivot that I that I loosened to get that in, and that's it. So I think the next thing is to just get this bike back in the garage, get it up onto the lift, and start building the rest of it up, and get this engine fired up, and let you hear it. Okay, guys, thanks a million. Guys, so I've decided I'm going to revisit this a bit, and those frame rail bolts, I'm going to take them out again, and I'm going to machine them taper, machine a taper on the heads of them there. I think it would look nicer, because I've done likewise on my 2005, so that'll be what I'll be doing. Okay, so let's do this. Let's machine these things here, and clean them up, and make a nice taper head on them. All right. So that's much better, as you can see. All right, glad I've done that. So when we were putting the engine in earlier there, I was saying about this bracket here, and whenever the engine's sitting on that, the engine would be sitting on that, and this here, as I pointed out, would be pivoting on the the trolley jack, and then it would be swiveling round. This comes up, and this part here bolts on to the studs at the front of the engine. Another thing I didn't mention, and I should have done, was in order to give the engine a bit more stability, because it's really just resting on here. And I think for future reference, I will extend this. This is a wooden block here. I think, and I've it covered it here with some, a rubber covering there. But I think for future reference, I will replace this wooden block with a longer wooden block that comes out to here, because this part here is where the main where the trolley jack is actually applying the taking the weight. And although the engine tends to want to sort of lean forward, you still have nothing here between here and here to support the underside of the engine. But that lends a little issue, because how do you get the nut on? And I think what I would do would be, I would leave this this part to be fitted afterwards. So what I would actually do is I would put the bracket itself without any block on onto the jack, screwed on, and then I would have this part here that, and there actually is, you can barely see them there, there's actually a place there and there. I'll show you where the bolts come through to there and to there. And I think what I would actually have is, I would have a block with a rubber top to it and two holes, and after this part here is bolted onto the jack, I would then put the block on, screw it down, and then I would offer it up to the underside of the engine. And another thing also is, you'll notice that there's two sections of chain links here, and we did this and didn't mention it earlier, and that was you need to hook a ratchet strap in underneath there, loop it around the engine and attach it back onto there, so that it basically keeps the engine stable and in place. And another wee thing I decided to do while I was doing those frame rail bolts was to just go over this again here. There was a couple of tiny little blemishes on it that I just didn't like. So I'll just give this a polish up and fit it. All right, guys. Okay, so that's the now blemish-free removable frame rail back on, polished up and absolutely sitting pristine. And I'm sure you'll agree that the decision to taper machine those frame rail retaining bolts was the right one. That's much better looking. Let's see if I can do the bottom one here. Yeah, that's just like what's on my 2005. Very happy with that. Speaking about bolts, all the engine mounting bolts, the stock ones, were replaced with titanium. There's that's one there, and that's the bottom one there, titanium. And same with the ones on the other side. Yeah, so here's the ones on the other side with the other engine. That's a removable engine mounting bracket there. All the bolts here, stock ones, have been replaced with titanium and titanium nuts as well, consistent with the bolts all around the engine casings, etc., like that. But here's a wee thing here. This is the bottom engine mounting bolt, as you can see. And I mean, the manual shows this bolt going in from this, going in from this side, so that the nut on that part and the exposed thread is visible on the other side. And I don't really like that. I would rather have it that, the nut and threads are in here where they're kind of hidden. But I think there's far too much threads there showing there. I don't really like that. I'm going to reduce the amount of threads on that by maybe about at least 6 millimeters or more. I mean, you're never really going to see it because, the chain's going to be there and everything. And but still, I just don't. I'm going to take that back out again and replace it, reduce it a wee bit, and then put it back in the same way, so that whatever threads is going to be to the inside and not visible on the other side. All right. So here it is, placed alongside the stock one. The stock one is what's that, about 215 millimeters long. Let's see. Move that nut there. Yeah, it's about, it's hard to read it, about 215 or so long, to maybe 216. That one's 220. So yeah, I could afford to take at least 5 mil off that. And as I was saying there, I mean, it's showing the on the the bolt going in that direction, which means that on the other side where you would see it, you're going to have a nut and threads exposed. I mean, because it shows it going in through there, through that little bottom mounting bracket, and coming out the other side. But no, I'm going to put it that it's coming in this way, and that the nut and the threads are there. And there's the spare. There's the top one, which is even longer. I replaced that's a spare one I had after replacing on my 2005, and I actually made one of these spools here in titanium for it, and that's why I have this one here spare. It's longer again. Goodness, it's what, about 265 millimeters long. But anyway, I'm going to reduce this here a wee bit and put it in the way I said, because I don't like them threads exposed. Here's another wee thing I want to say in regard to fitting that engine, and it is in kind of relation to this bottom bolt, which is basically the first bolt that you would put in order to get this engine sort of positioned. And I'll just show you it here now in a wee second. It's actually this piece of brass rod or brass bar here, about 460 millimeters long or so. It's exactly the same diameter as the mounting bolts, and if you notice, this is a machined end on it here. And when we put the engine in, the very first thing I did was, I mean, you wanted that length so that you can grip the end of it, and you want that kind of machined end on it there so that you can tap in. And I'll just show you here. Okay, so here's the position obviously for the bottom bolt. And even if you didn't really have one of those brackets like I was telling you earlier or showing you earlier, if you got another friend to give you a hand and you got the engine in and got it into position that this here lined up, the first thing you do is this big long piece of brass bar, we put that in there like that, you know, and it's sufficiently long enough so that, and exactly the same diameter as the bottom bolt. And, you know, you just tap that in there like that. And then what you can do is that's poking out the other side. So you can basically pivot the engine off that piece of brass rod there, or brass bar. And then you would simply just put your jack in underneath the underside of it there, in underneath there, and just jack the engine, you know, just jack the engine up that it pivoted on that. And then that allowed you to lift the engine up and then get the, you know, the top bolt in at the rear. So as I say, there's it coming out the other side there. And as I say, it's sufficiently long enough, and you don't want to be wrestling about like with a bolt that, you know, I mean, it maybe not 100% lined up, and you're tapping it in there, and you maybe butcher the threads on it a wee bit, you know, because it's just not spot on. But if you had a rod like that, with that end on it there that I'm saying, and you tapped it in, and it went through there, the bottom rear bracket there, engine mounting bracket, then, like I was saying there, you simply pivot. You pivot off that. You jack the underside of your engine up there. And then, you know, that allows you to swivel the engine up in order to get this bolt in and this front bracket and bolts in. And then what you do is you simply tap that back out again like that. You know, I mean, I could push that out. And that's what I want it to leave it long enough that you can pull it out. You know, you can grip the end of it, pull it out again, and then put your bolt in. And so, in other words, it's really that in effect is the first bolt you put in, and then, or sorry, you put that in as a replacement for the bolt, the very first thing, and then whenever the engine's all bolted up everywhere else, you slide that out and you put that bolt, you take that back out again and put the proper bolt in last. So it's the first in and last out, and to be replaced with a right bolt. And that's the way we did it, and that's the way it was very successful. And like I say, you know, you can pull that back out again like that. It's like that, and it's exactly the same diameter as your bolt, and then you simply slide your bolt in there. But as I was saying there, they want you to put the bolt in from the other side and have the nut and everything and threads exposed there. But you know, wouldn't it be nicer if the threads and the exposed threads and the nuts was hidden, and the bolt went in, or the bolt went in, so that all you seen was the head of it? I think it would be nicer. Oh, and one more thing, and I think I mentioned it in the earlier on, was in order to get the engine in too, to give yourself a little bit more clearance, you slacken this swing arm pivot a little bit on both sides. You know, there's a nut on a spindle there, but you slacken that off, and that allows the frame to spread that wee bit, gives you that tiny wee bit more wiggle room to get the engine in, because you're putting this big top bolt that passes through there and through there, the other side, and that spool goes on the other side, you know, that spacer. Okay, so you can see it. That's that spacer there. That's you know, so you want your frame to spread a wee bit so that you can kind of get that in and then get your bolt. Now in this case, you know, the bolt was put in from this side, because then it's holding the spacer, you know, as you slide the bolt in. If you slide the bolt in, you're kind of holding the spacer and then passing it right through the engine, and you know, you're not worried about nuts or anything like that, because there's frame plugs to go in there. All right, guys. All right, guys. Okay, guys, so let's fit this. Okay. So there you are. Couldn't be easier than that. Now, it's not much nicer there than a load of threads and a nut sticking out. So we just stick a nut on the other end of it, and that'll be that. All right, so that's a bit better, isn't it? Another wee job worth doing. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you here. You'll see this wee hook here. See this wee hook here? Well, here it is. That's it. And that clips on to the bottom, the shank of the bottom engine mounting bolt, and that is what the overflow pipe from the petrol tank passes through there. I'll just show you that now. All right, so there's that's the titanium bottom engine mounting bolt, and this is this little clip here. I'll just push it on like that. See, like that. And there's a tube here, or an overflow pipe, if I can get it. get my hand to it. There it is. And that will just pass through there like that. See, like that. And that's the purpose that wee hook serves. Okay, so as I was saying earlier about torquing up all these bolts, I know I have to torque them all up to the proper tension, but I have a big thing here I want to do, and in one of my next videos, and that is I have a new replacement swing arm to go in there. So I'll save that for another video. So there's no point in tightening all those bolts up, because if I do, I'd only have to slacken them again in order to get that swinging arm out. But anyway, look lads, that's the bike. I'll close this here over. That's the bike back up on the table again. Engine in it, and I can get to work on building up the rest of this bike. And if you want, you can tune into the next one and follow along. Okay guys, thanks so much for all your comments, all your interest, and as I keep saying, stay tuned for the next one. All the best, guys. Bye. Oh, and one last thing I forgot to mention. The engine's in, as you can see, but this is important. I stuck to notices up there. No oil. There's no oil in this engine yet. So you can't be too careful. All right, guys. Okay. Bye.